farms, it's me, man. It's dark and I'm sleepy, but I thought I'd do a video actually about ADHD for a change. And I'm sorry about my hair, I look like the Cookie Monster. Which, no, Cookie Monster that's probably been sleeping in a bin for the last 2 weeks. But I did have my hair cut, but the top's really long and it's a bit scraggy anyway. So I thought I would talk about ADHD in the news, and here's one that's actually really relevant for me and probably a lot of you out there as well. This is from the 26th of October, which is not so long ago, and this is from Tobias Chappell and Anna Collinson for the BBC News website, and I know the BBC News website has got a lot of crap, but this is probably one of the better ones actually. They are very good at doing disability stories. I don't know why, particularly, but anyway. So here it is. I'm going to read it out for you now. It says, gender bias is leaving many women with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder undiagnosed. A leading psychologist are warning. The prevailing stereotype ADHD affects only naughty boys means at least tens of thousands in the UK, it is estimated, are unaware they have the condition and not receiving the help they need. I used to tell doctors and therapists all the time, you've got to make this constant noise in my head stop. I can't think, I can't sleep, I can't get any peace. But this was always dismissed as anxiety or women's problems. Yeah. Diagnosed with depression at 16, she spent most of her 20s unsuccessfully battling to be referred to a psychiatrist, and she constantly felt she was not reaching her true potential. I studied history at university and could write an essay on an academic subject, but when I worked as a sales assistant, I couldn't fill out an order form. My mind would wander off and I would make mistakes. I would get a lot of criticism for that. I was always thinking, why am I not able to manage things that other people can do so easily, like keep their house tidy and remember deadlines? That antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills Hester was encouraged to take were not helping, but she learned to hide her struggle. You suppress who you are so you can look like a normal person, but it's exhausting, she says. Then I had a baby, and suddenly the extra pressure, the sleep deprivation, all the wheels fell off. When he was 3 years old, I had a nervous breakdown. Hester was finally diagnosed with ADHD in 2015, aged 34. And only, she says, because her husband had discovered he had the condition a year earlier. His diagnosis took 12 months. At no point did anyone say to Chris, this sounds like anxiety, or have some tablets, Hester says. He was taken seriously, whereas with me, I was on the doctor's radar from the age of 16. Bluntly, it took me so long to be diagnosed because I'm a woman. A late diagnosis can have a negative effect on relationships and careers, as well as increase the risk of mental health problems such as anxiety, depression and eating disorders. Clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. Susan Young says childhood is where the bias starts, with boys 3 or 4 times more likely to be diagnosed. Research suggests boys tend to display more disruptive behaviours, such as rule breaking or fighting, while girls' symptoms are likely to be more subtle. It's the boisterous boys who are causing problems in the child. Fucking ADHD, you know. I'm trying to read from a screen. For fuck's sake. Start again. It's the boisterous boys who are causing problems in the classroom who are going to get referred for help, not the quieter girls who are criticised for daydreaming and not paying attention. But those girls are also struggling, Dr. Young says. Women haven't just woken up with ADHD, they have been signposts all the way along their life. Twiggy, 27, said the signs she had ADHD were clear at school. I loved English and dramas, she said. If we were learning about Shakespeare, oh my gosh, I was on fire. But if there was anything else, like maths, I just wasn't interested. If I was a boy, I think my behaviour would have been looked into. But I was just labelled a disruption. Twiggy's struggles with focus often left her feeling stupid. But with the support of her family and friends, She went on to study law at university and became a beauty journalist for a prominent magazine. Twiggy first heard about ADHD in women on social media, but then had to persuade her GP to refer her to a psychiatrist. When her diagnosis was confirmed last August, she cried tears of happiness. It was a huge relief knowing I'm not hyperactive because I'm annoying. I don't daydream because I don't care about what the person is saying. It's just the way my brain works, she says. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition that comes in 3 types: inattentive, hyperactive and impulsive, or a combination of both, which is what Twiggy has. All the women say that ADHD diagnosis has improved their lives. For some, medication and therapy has helped. For others, including Twiggy, all they needed were answers. My ADHD is part of who I am, but now I'm able to manage it. I don't blame myself anymore, she says. Experts say that females often learn to camouflage their symptoms. This may be viewed as having anxiety or depression. They may have another condition alongside their ADHD, such as autism. And this can lead to an incomplete or incorrect diagnosis that marks their underlying difficulties. Leading experts say the diagnosis gap between males and females shrinks in adulthood. But while NHS digital data suggests diagnoses have been on the rise for both genders in recent years, in England, in 2019 to 20, 33,000 women were diagnosed compared to 100,000 men. As a teenager, Sheila battled suicidal thoughts. As an adult, she exhibited risky behaviour, such as included in 6 car crashes. Her life was chaos, the 66-year-old says. 66. Sorry, I'm supposed to be reading from this. Just 66. Until her ADHD was confirmed 3 years ago. I do think about what it would have been like if I'd have been told earlier, she says. My kids have turned out amazingly well, but I'm sad that they've done it in spite of me, not because of me. So sad. I could have had a career. I trained as a dispensing optician, but I never managed to hold down a job long enough to progress. I would just walk out because I would get frustrated with people not understanding me. I'm quite fond of who I am now. Before, I was like a volcano ready to go off. Now I'm like a mountain, gentler, quieter and smoother. A Department of Health and Social Care official for England says guidance has been updated to make it easier for doctors to diagnose ADHD in women and girls. There are currently no dedicated services for adults with ADHD in Northern Ireland, according to a departmental official. Patients' needs are met via a generic mental health services. The Scottish Government says it is carrying out a pilot project to improve the diagnosis of adults with neurodevelopmental disorders. A review of the Welsh Government of all age neurodevelopmental services is to be completed by March. For more information, psychologists advise completing online ADHD questionnaires and speaking to a GP. Wow. This isn't really anything I couldn't have told people before. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, as you probably know from other videos. And I only got diagnosed with ADHD. Oh, that's my knee. I'm not naked, I promise you. I really am not. My legs are hot, the rest of me isn't. TMI. But it's the winter and my boiler's gone, so I can't record in my normal place. This is the warmest room in the house, so I'm just sticking here for the time being, if that's all right with you guys. So yeah, I wanted to do this because it's really, really important. And okay, so yeah, this is I mean, the internet moves so fast, okay, but I still think 26th of October is still kind of recent enough to talk about. And actually, I've been meaning to it for ages, but procrastination, always find something else to get involved in, and then before I know it, it's dark and I need to do chores, and then I want to have a drink of alcohol, and then I want to go to bed, and then I want to watch YouTube, and I want horror films, and but now I thought, right, it doesn't matter. I haven't got the man cave set up. I'm just going to do it here and now, That's it. But yeah, I got diagnosed because I knew there was always something a bit wrong with me. And then in my 30s, when my career was going down the pan, because just things, I was a freelance technical operator in TV. And it's the kind of job where you thrive on excitement, but if you've got the social skills of, I don't know, maybe used to say how I was like the Tasmanian devil in the cartoons. And that doesn't really engender trust and, sense of reliability or whatever it is. So I didn't do too good in that field. And it was a shame, actually, because I was actually quite good at it. But the interpersonal skills thing was... And then because I wasn't getting any freelance work in TV, I tried to go and get temp work in offices, and that was just, no, I couldn't cope with that at all. So boring. So yeah, I was just basically unemployable, and I still feel like that now, and I'm really pleased that at least there's one person out there who thinks I'm employable. But there are a lot of women out there, and okay, I'm non-binary, but to all intents and purposes, people see me as a woman, and it does go unnoticed, because we just if I'm going to make people angry, I'm going to make people upset with me, I'm just going to go and hide away, and that's what you do. You don't put yourself forward for opportunities because you think I'm just going to fuck them up, and it's just such a waste. And I really hope that maybe other employers would come forward and say, look, we'll give these people a chance because they aren't doing it out of spite or, to be annoying deliberately. And what the fuck was that? So my phone just bleeped for some unknown reason. Excuse me, I still got this cold. But I know I have got a really good work ethic, and it's just that I just cannot for the life of me just put my head down and sort shit out. But one of the things I want to do in the next couple of months is I want to with my friend Ian, who's also got mental health difficulties. He's got OCD. We're going to get together and we're going to try and run improv comedy workshops, because we're both really good at it. But because of my lack of self-esteem and Ian's lack of self-esteem, it's going to be a challenge for the both of us. But I think that's the worst thing about having undiagnosed ADHD and just going through life feeling you're a total and utter failure. It's really horrible. It takes a lot to try and undo that. Oh, my lamp's falling down. Oh my god, I'm starting to get all spooky. Oh, there we go. Yeah. There's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot to unpack with that article. But the thing is, this woman who was 66, imagine what she would have gone through. I mean, when she was at school, people used to tie their hands behind their backs if they were left-handed. So must have been even worse than me. I'm 51, She was naughty at school. She might have got the cane, or she might have just... But like I said, the women, the girls in school, they just kind of slink into the shadows. I always wanted to be a bass player in a band because I wanted to do something useful, but I wanted to do it in the shadows. And I think maybe a lot of girls are like that they want to do something useful and constructive, but they want to slink into the shadows as well, because they don't want to be noticed, because if people notice them, then they're going to notice what they're doing wrong, and it's really horrible. It really fucks up your self-esteem, honestly. And I'm glad people are talking about it now. And I recently read a story about how there's certain employment agencies that are giving more opportunities to people with Down syndrome and that's great. Downs is one of those things that's very obvious, though. You can score a lot of brownie points by employing people with Downs and putting them on your website, putting them on social media and say, look what I've done. But if you've got neurodevelopmental disorder and you don't look particularly different or impaired, I'm sorry, that sounds terrible, but no, it's not me saying that. It's society in general. Hidden disabilities are ignored because they just don't look. Oh my God, the rush streets of Wycroft. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of this stuff gets ignored, and there's a lot of neurodiverse people who suffer from unemployment because people just don't get them. And it's not, if you employ someone with a particularly visible disability, like I said, you can get, the company can get brownie points, and, it's basically virtue signalling. I mean, come on, that's what it is, isn't it? If you're going to do that, if you're going to have opportunities for disabled people, you need to look at the whole broad spectrum, not just something that's gonna you can put on a screen and just score points, and it's inspiration porn, isn't it? We're not very good. We don't really neurodiverse people can't really contribute to inspiration porn because we just don't look like we've got anything wrong with us to start with. So I think that's where society falls down in a lot of ways, because it's like, well, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just being bloody awkward. Look, you look all right. You sound all right. You've got high IQ. You're not in a wheelchair. You're not on crutches. You haven't got stumps, and it's not a competition. No, my husband's got cerebral palsy, and he does a lot better than I do, frankly, because his brain works in a lot better way than mine. His body doesn't work very well, but his brain is brilliant. So he's managed to coast through. Well, I say coast through life. That's a bit cruel, but he does all right, and he's fit, and he's very fit. Why would I stay with him for so long? But I mean, he's not like my left foot, like that kind of thing. But he's and the fact that he was brought up kind of like to be kind of inspirational as well is it damaged him to such a degree that he feels like he has to achieve the highest level in everything now. And kind of that reflects on me as well, because like, if I can do it, why can't you do it? And yeah, it's really difficult. And I just think that why don't you just kind of give disabled people a break? And because like, especially with people with neurodevelopmental disorders, and I'm stuttering now because I'm just kind of like tired and nervous. I just think that I want to say believe all cripples, but it's like believe all women. I don't want to use that word, but like, I think that there comes a time now where there's a lot of minorities being talked about and not enough. Well, I mean, that's a sad thing about the BBC, is like, they're being accused of being transphobic, and like, I've got videos on my channel where I've referred to the BBC, and they've been very pro trans and non-binary and things like that. And I'm going to do another video about why I think that's changed, and it's a political thing. I say not political as in like Trump political, I mean political because the BBC needs money from the government, so basically has to toe the line, and like going on with what the culture secretary wants and all of this, and it's very difficult because it's public access, so they are really reliant on public funding, and public funding comes from us paying a licence fee, but it also comes from the government as well. So we've got a Conservative government, so obviously, things do change. But I don't want the BBC to be dismissed completely, because they do a lot for. They do report a lot of disability stories as well. So I really would like for this thing to kind of go out on social media in general, because when people talk about minorities on social media, they tend to talk about race and the LGBTQ. They never talk about other things that people are born with that they can't help, like disabilities. I would really like to see that talked about. And maybe it's on us to go out and have rallies and things. But the problem is we just don't have the capability, and let's face it, we don't have the money either, because like a lot of us are, I think it's something like only 2% of people with disabilities are employed or something like that. I have to look that up later, but it's a very low amount of money. It's a very low amount of employment, and so we don't have the money to just like sod off and go to London, and also it costs us more because we have to pay for like extra things. Like we wouldn't necessarily be able to drive, so we'd have to get an Uber somewhere, and that's going to cost us money. And there's lots of things. I mean, I can only drive small distances, and I can only drive on routes that I already know, unless someone has kind of driven that route with me. It's got to be about 20 times or something, and I know it, but otherwise I'll have panic attack. And so my local authority has given me a free bus pass, which is lovely. I've also got like a disabled rail card, which means I get third off rail, which is also very, very good. But obviously with COVID, like nobody really wants to go on trains at the moment. I haven't been on a train for ages, but I think I will too. But in the winter, it's not very nice, like standing and then waiting for public transport. So I haven't actually been out that much, like for the last, I don't know, it's kind of been hit miss. But what I'm saying is that people need to talk about disability more on YouTube and Tumblr and Twitch and Twitter. Sorry, brain fart. And all of this, because it's not trendy, and it's not fashionable, and it's not loud, but it's still an issue. And like I say, like it's everyone from like ages 66 to like 35 and maybe even younger than that, because we're all slipping through the net. And I can only tell you my story. I would really love to get in touch with other people with ADHD and talk to them about like their experiences, especially if they're like 50 and over and identify as female, or born as female, because like I said, growing up it never got noticed, and you just feel like a failure at school, and that's just completely destroys your self-esteem like forever. It takes a long time to get over that, and I think I'm really quite traumatized still. So it'd be really interesting to hear from other ADHD people. And please, if you're struggling, go out there, try and get a diagnosis. Don't let anyone stop you. If you need any help, if you're in the UK, there might be some things that I can point you in the right general direction of. I'm afraid you still have to pay for it. It's really crappy, but that's the way it is. But it might help you in the long run, and give you a little bit more perspective. And I'll tell you what, that it's not cured my self-esteem much, but it has made me a kind of more peaceful person. I've stopped throwing things and screaming at people, so that's quite good. That's a win. That's a win, all right. I manage the house, and I kind of do all right, but I wish I could do more. I really do. And I don't want to get rent off. I'm not my in-laws. I was around the house for dinner the other day, and I said, look, I'd quite like to do a PhD, because like if I found a subject that I'm interested in, I'd quite like to go along with that. And they said, oh no, it's far too late for you to do that now. It's like, what? I knew people who were doing a BA and they'd retired, society can't just write people off like that. It's disgusting. So you get written off when not only do you get written off because you've got a brain thing, but you also get written off because your age. Just like, well, I might as well just like fucking drink myself to death at this point. What else have I got going for me? And I'm sure I can't be the only person who feels like that. And I would really love to rally together with people and say, look, we need to make it a thing. We need to get out there and say, people with neurodiversity and people who are middle-aged with neurodiversity as well, we've actually got a shit ton to offer society. We have. And I think there's a lot of ways in which people who have gone through adversity actually make them kinder and more empathetic people. Not every time, that's kind of, that's an idealisation, isn't it? But there are ways and means, and I think the only way to figure out what people are good at is to give them a chance, really, and that's all we want. That's all we want. They're people who have got neurodiversity of any age, really, but particularly older people. We're pretty sick of being like, we're in the yoke of low self-esteem and being strangled by it, and we'd really love for you guys to go give us a bit of a chance. Anyway, there's so much to unpack there. I might do another video on this, but yeah, gender bias and diagnosis it's not an unusual thing. Women go to doctors with pain, and quite a lot of the time they get sent away with saying it's all in your head. So it is quite a broad brush, and we've got to, as a society, we've got to work on that. And it's, like I say, it's pretty crappy. But in the meantime, all I can do is say that I really would like to give you all my support. And if you've got any questions about being diagnosed with ADHD, how did I get diagnosed with ADHD, AMA below. And I would love to make videos about things you're interested in, because sometimes I just think that I'm pissing into the wind and I don't really know what I'm doing. And I would like to contribute to society as a whole before I die of liver failure from drinking too much. I know. Sorry, I'm being over dramatic and a bit fatalistic, but yeah, I really want us to get together as a community. Okay, so yeah, neurodiverse squad, let's do it. Okay, the Cookie Monster out. Bye.